I've had a love affair with darts since I was about 16. I, at that time, was a SWAT at a Geordie grammar school, posh grammar school. And I had to photograph for a recall. If I read a piece of history twice, I could regurgitate it to the master who gave me that lesson. This put incredible stress on me because I used to sit in the bath with the books, learning history and all that, and then Caesar went there, and then he went there, and then he went there. And I would cram it. And about 8 o'clock, where it was sit in the bath, kick the whippet out, move the cool, I used to jump on a bus and go to a pub in a place called Morpeth. It's frequented by young lads who worked in the town. It could be market traders, anybody. And play darts, just get my mind off it. And I like that extrovert bit, the short bit about darts. If you played crib, or if you played dominoes, there's no lights on you. Whereas here in darts, it was all lights and fancy. And then I would play darts with these lads and just forget about the books. Wouldn't have they just gone for a walk or anything? I had to do something else. So that's where I played darts. And when I went to Cambridge, I damaged my right hamstring quite badly, playing football and rugby, alternate days for the college. And in the middle of my second term, I could hardly walk with the right hamstring, and I started playing darts. So we eventually tried to get darts with the Blues sport. The Blues committee drank the beer. We lobbied them, and we didn't even get a quarter blue like tiddlywinks. Got to the university finals, played some trainee vicars, by which time we'd all had 6 pints of strong beer. And I remember the vicars, one of them had a dog collar on and a meerschaum pipe, and their round was 4 halves of orange and 1 half of shandy. So I knew a lot about darts before I went into the television business when I was 25, 26 at Granada Telly. Then after a few years, I got involved in a show called the Indoor League, which has been described as the most vulgar television ever. I like to think in the sense vulgar as being of the people, where Freddie Truman used to come out with a pipe and a cardigan saying, "Now then, all you lads and lasses, I've got bubbers and scrubbers and potters and slotters, here we go, arm wrestling." And the darts was a subculture. They were brilliant. They were from Wales. Some of them had tattoos. One of them had a cardigan, moth-eaten cardigan, run church, the Leaning Tower of Walworth. Holmes drank with 10 pints, never missed his doubles and trebles. And that was in 1972, 73. And it was the first time darts had ever been on national television. All right, there'd been the News of the World, which my friend Dave Lannon commentated on, where hundreds of Welsh people with papier-mâché leeks and red and white scarves supported a little kid who he looked like Cochise, gappy teeth, had a beer. Alan Evans beat the champion. So we stumbled on a subculture, and it became my role in life, like Moses setting the bushes on fire, to spread the gospel that this was a working class sport. Some of these blokes in the 1970s were playing darts for hundreds of pounds with side betting in Wales, North Yorkshire, and Scotland. And I was a producer till I was till 1978, when I got the job as commentator on the BBC because I knew the players. So, and I was, I suppose, obsessed by it. There is an unbelievable arc of my commentating journey. I'm sitting here, happy as Larry now, very calmly talking to you, but it wasn't always like that. I first went for a commentary trial in July 1977, because there was going to be a world championship in 6 months after. And I happened to be at the BBC in Manchester, getting on about darts. And the producer had been very successful with snooker, with Dennis Taylor and them lot, and Hurricane against. Nick Hunter was trying darts. And he sent me for a trial. which meant a guy sitting there with a tape recorder and me here. And 12 times 7, 84 blokes playing darts in a national competition with me trying to be quiet. And I have great difficulty being quiet. I'm also asthmatic. And I was sitting again. So here he is, from Durham, Ray Oxbury, trucking darts as thick as panatellas. He's into that trouble. He's like, in his place, who's that? Shut him up, smack his head, stop him. So, and I had that problem. I've got a very loud voice. I'm asthmatic, been asthmatic since I was 14. I've done Project properly. And then this is the one. He's like Gareth Edwards on the blind side. They said, right, you're going to start on grandstand in 3 months' time. Then you're going to do, as the only commentator, the first ever darts world championship. Well, I started on the pub, sticking the news of the world scores on the mantelpiece behind the blinds, beside the blind stocking, having a pint shandy and trying to hit the scores the players would, and commentating on myself. The other room, I'm in the posh room, the lads and the boss, you know, who's that nutty Geordie out there, screaming and yelling and trying to get the scores. I did go for my first one with David Vine, who did the skating, was very, very nice lad. Like myself, a working class lad, although you couldn't tell his smoothness and that. And we sat on a balcony at a place called Charnock Richard near Preston. And I tried to memorize all these numbers, 156, 131, and I had them all on bits of paper. But again, nobody had soundproofed us. And again, there is this time 12 teams times 7. And the best team was the Geordie team from Cramlington. And I'm shouting. And David Vines. And with me is a new lad. And I said, thank you, Daddy. So once the nerves dropped, I'm to the man I born. Oh, here he goes. He'll go for treble 19. No, I bloody won't. And we're going to come here and smack you. The supporters of the Geordie team, we're going to come on the balcony and smack me. And I went and sat and watched myself on, this was recorded, and shown the following Saturday on Grandstand. And I'll never forget Frank Buff saying, Sid Waddell, determined to make a name for himself, and why not? So, and then I see preparation was, I've got to be honest, I used to drink with the lads. Because they're all like some rough cousins, and they drank a lot, and I used to get so nervous. Because some people in darts didn't think a Geordie who'd been at Cambridge and fancied himself and thought he was a bit of a comedian, should be doing the job. They thought somebody from darts should be doing it. There's a lot of hostility towards me, but not with the players. Because if you've been drinking with them till 3 a.m, and they put you to bed, or you put them to bed, if you can do the job, it was generally recorded, so they could drop if I'm at a slip of the tongue. It was generally recorded. You could then say things about them. Here's Charlie throwing like a drain. Rubbish. He was throwing him better last night after 4 pints. You couldn't do that about Roy Keane or Sir Alec Ferguson or Ian Botham. You never, ever get that close to professional sportsmen. Wayne Rooney cannot be seen in a bar till 2 a.m. See what happened. So I used to relax by having a few beers with the lads. Then my brother and his mates would arrive for the end of a tournament, and I'd have to stay up with them. I also used to sing a lot, even though I'm tone deaf. I used to sing with party. Them having the players accepted me, and then most of the papers thought I was a bit of a wag. Again, there's another art there. I've gone everything from being a nutter to being a genius. But the preparation was trying to memorize some of the scores, which I never did. So I've now got charts, dirty old things covered in ink that are 30 years old, the News of the World charts, with special players' bits on them. At one stage, I used to have, I got gout, and I went in a tracksuit, Jimmy Savile type tracksuit, to prop up my knee. Because I kept banging the microphone down, because I got so excited, they cut a hole in a piece of foam rubber, and I had that there. I had a big black bag in case my cough and my asthma made me sick, and my nerves. And at one stage, the embassy used to give away free fags, 200 fags a day, or 20 free cigars. So there'd be a bloke sitting their foot that way, smoking wall-to-wall players number Regal, and then bloke next to him smoking cigars. And I'm in there, for 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm the only commentator. And then to cap it all, Bobby George realised what I was like. Bobby George got knocked out of a tournament in 1980, and he came in and sat down next to me as I was ready to go on grandstand. I had an ashtray there in case I was sick. I had a bag there in case I was sick. And as Frank Buff said, and now over to Sid Waddell at Jolly's Club, Stoke-on-Trent, for this first round match, Bobby George stuck a hamburger with all the trimmings under my nose and says, Sid, do you want a bite? So I started my first ever live grandstand with, here he is, Eric Bristow, Splint, Steve Brennan. I was gipping as I went on there. So what I do now is much calmer. There's 8 commentators. When I first started with Sky, there was only 3 of us. I now tend to do the best matches. And even now, I can do it all. I used to sit like a jockey. As with a mic was a lollipop. Well, here we go. Right, so I've cut my lung capacity by 30% by having my shoulders up here. And I used to walk around afterwards. Now, I've got a voice coach, and I do Alexandrian exercises. Before I would come to a commentary, say 3 days before, lie on the floor, like they tell ladies to do who are pregnant. Pull your knees up here, put your arms as far behind your head as you can, so you're loosening everything up. And deep breathing exercises. The curfew tells the knell of parting day. The line herd winds slowly over the lee. Then I do longer exercise, and I do nose flute to clear my sinuses. Ooh, yeah. By now, it's all coming down. I use a throat spray, cortisone throat spray, quite a lot. And I try and use my diaphragm when I speak. So I do these exercises. The curfew tells the knell of parting day. 10 years ago, I could have only got to the 3rd word. The line herd winds slowly o'er the lea. The ploughman homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world of darkness unto me. So I can now, with various exercises by a professional voice coach and various hints, I can now get out 23 words on a breath instead of about 12. But I still tend to get very excited. I kick the door off the commentary box. I tend to be very, what was doing with Stephen Fry? They said be quiet, and it was all this. Right, here we go then. And with me, a lad who's more used to the old Vic, the young Vic, or the Queen Vic. Welcome, Stephen. Stephen Fry says, well, glad to be here, Sydney. In fact, I'm as chuffed and happy as a pig in Chardonnay. So, straight away, saucy as anything. Again, here he is, Mervyn King. Once upon a time he was breaking all pots. Now he's almost breaking his heart. Nothing you can do, Merv. Totally clips of the dart. Stephen Fry went like that. Know what you mean, Sydney? Bonnie Taylor, not Bonnie Tyler. He's up with it all the way. And I was punching him and saying, sorry, the cues are a bit clumsy in here, pal. And I jumped around to anybody ever tells me to shut up. I'm in a little world of my own, and I go mad. And there is a complication that the way we do it together now. Yeah, we now are live all the time, and me and Dave Lanning, they like a double act, and me and John Gwynn also. John has got a real big stentorian voice. So we gone for words. I mean, one coming up is the World Cup, and there's a guy called Dylan Parody in it. So it'll be parody, looking for parody. That's John. And I'll go, you'd be sick as a parody if you miss it. Well, you'd get kicked out of most playgrounds for some of the gags that we were. So I'm a much calmer commentator now, because now that it's live, I don't have to carry the whole burden myself. With the second commentator, I could cough, have a sneezing fit, I'd go to the bookies and come back, and still there'd be another voice on it. But still, there is a natural nervousness now, but like the tension, the mental strain of not knowing some of the scores, because I never played, and never being sure what my performance, and it is meant to achieve, other than to convey my enthusiasm to what I do. That, and I still will lose when I do the World Championship. I will lose. Last year, I started the championships at 11 stone 8. At 12 stone 2, and I ended up 11 stone 8. It'll still cost me £8 or £9.